wow, China is completely changing its stance on Bitcoin, doing the full 180-degree turn. Suddenly, they're no longer positive about it, but instead want to impose even more restrictions on their citizens. There's even talk of a Bitcoin ban by the central bank. Just recently, it was all about China opening up to Bitcoin. Now we're seeing massive rejection here, or at least some wild rumors that we need to take a closer look at. We're also going to take a look at what Donald Trump has to say about this, because Donald Trump sees China as his biggest competitor in the race to become the Bitcoin superpower. Donald Trump has made a very interesting statement about it. But we also have a new major warning from Ernst Wolf, who talks about regulatory moves by the German government, the EU, and a quantum computer attack that could harm Bitcoin. But before we dive right in, guys, take a second real quick. Go ahead and smash the like button down below for me. For higher Bitcoin prices, for new all-time highs, today coming to you straight from the bullish Bitcoin beach. Here, check this out. Right here, just as the sun is setting. Oh man, what a terrible camera though. Here, take a look at this. How awesome is that? Let's go. I have to go through this cave in a second. Gotta hurry up so the water doesn't get too high here. The Bitcoin price isn't really moving much at the moment. So what's happening with the price? The update is pretty uninteresting right now, as we've already seen. Last weekend was pretty boring too. Things only start to get interesting on Sunday evenings. That's when some players often use the low liquidity to maybe influence the market a bit. We also have a very, very interesting statement here from British Huddle. He says here, hey guys, the M2 money velocity has reached its peak. The perfect time to print money that doesn't lead to real inflation. So what he is fundamentally articulating here is a profound observation. The prevailing and indeed rather sluggish velocity of money within the economic system currently establishes an absolutely ideal and opportune environment. This unique set of circumstances allows for the strategic and substantial injection of significant economic stimulus directly into the market, all without the typically anticipated and undesirable consequence of triggering widespread inflationary pressures across the economy. That means the higher the velocity of money, the faster the newly printed money enters circulation, and the quicker it leads to real inflation. We also remember this partly from the pandemic period. There are some stimulus packages that are still stuck in the banking system. The stimulus is still stuck in the banking system. It doesn't reach the real economy because the velocity of money isn't high enough. So this money doesn't enter circulation. And the higher the velocity, the more stimulus acts like gasoline, like an igniter or something like that. If we inject stimulus into the market now, then according to British Hotel, it's not so dangerous that we'll see an absolute explosion of inflation. The only thing that could happen is asset price inflation, but that's something we've always known as a side effect of printing money. And that's why we now have interest rate cuts at the end of QT. The velocity of money would support this because it has peaked and is also trending downward, at least according to British Hodl. And here, a perfect storm is brewing. On the other hand, we also have news like this coming out of China. And I have to add that I actually couldn't find an official source for this, but a lot of major news platforms like Coin Bureau or however you pronounce it, I have no idea, which already have over 100,000 impressions on this, are saying, hey, China has once again confirmed that Bitcoin is not legal tender. China's central bank says here Bitcoin and crypto are not legal tender, and using it as a currency is considered illegal. So it's still illegal to use it as an official currency here. They've also warned that stablecoins don't really meet KYC requirements here. And they also don't comply with anti-money laundering standards here. So they're definitely taking a very, very negative stance here. And we also had those reports from China about, CR50 now for Bitcoin. China could become the new big Bitcoin, the new big Bitcoin hotspot. But it looks like maybe that was actually just fake news. Or it could also be that these reports we're seeing now, they're the ones that are fake news. And it's just rumors with no real substance. It's already very, very difficult to determine who's actually right here. And now the latest report from China is fake. Or was it the previous pivot when they said they were opening up to Bitcoin? Was that basically fake? Because originally, China was simply the country that banned Bitcoin. Or rather, they banned Bitcoin mining. And now let's take a quick look at what Donald Trump has to say about this. Donald Trump actually sees China as the biggest competitor. In the way he always talks about China, You could conclude that he really has inside information, that China is more involved in the whole Bitcoin story than one might assume. Although, of course, China could also be pursuing a two-way strategy. They are actively and deliberately lining their very own pockets with immense wealth. But of course, the ordinary, hardworking people are absolutely not supposed to possess or even have access to any form of Bitcoin whatsoever.
Now, China's getting into it very big right now. If you want to go after people, you're going to kill that industry, and it'll be very bad. Tremendous number of jobs. I campaigned positively on crypto, very openly. I campaigned. Biden campaigned against it. When Biden found out that I was getting like 100% of the crypto vote, which was a lot, he switched totally, and he went in favor of crypto. They went totally in favor. They had many people under indictment. They let them all go. They let them all go. You know that. Many people were under indictment. Biden was a corrupt president. Biden went all in on crypto at the very end because he thought he could get some votes. It didn't work. They voted for me. I want to make crypto great for America. That's the only thing. I don't want to have somebody else have crypto and have China be number one in the world in crypto. Because in crypto, it's a kind of an industry where basically you're going to have number one and you're not going to have a number two. And right now we're number one by a long shot. I want to keep it that way. The same way we're number one with AI, we're number one with crypto. And I want to keep it that way.
In the same way, we're number one in AI. We're number one in crypto. I want to keep it that way. He gives a warning once, he gives a warning twice. He's also mentioned it in several interviews, and then China just backs out here and simply says, yeah, sorry, we're not doing Bitcoin and crypto anymore. So I actually think this is a big deception maneuver. Donald Trump is definitely very, very aware of this. And here, he's watching China for a power move. He also says here that this is basically a winner-takes-it-all business model, which isn't actually true. Anyone can use Bitcoin. There isn't just one big winner. Even if, in 10 years, Bitcoin has already become hyper-Bitcoinized. It's still better to use Bitcoin than not to use Bitcoin. It's similar to saying, yeah, one big nation will win the race for the automobile. Now we see cars everywhere in the world, whether it's China, Japan, or the USA. But of course, the first movers will benefit the most. And that's exactly what Donald Trump is warning about here. He's simply saying, folks, we need to be careful not to get left behind here. Give me a second. I need to freshen up real quick. Buddy? And now let's take a look at the latest warnings from Ernst Wolf. You know, we look at the positive reports, but we also look at the negative takes and the critical takes. Let's see what he has to say, and whether we should take it seriously. Oh, I think I'm the party pooper we're about to throw out here.
Maybe you've also been following, the debate around cryptocurrency has really picked up speed in recent months. Especially the regulation of the crypto market has reached a peak. Starting in 2026, basically everyone, no matter if it's on a cold wallet or any other blockchain platform, wherever it is, will have to be able to prove what crypto assets they own. I mean, complete transparency, the original idea of anonymity is basically dead now. What do you see coming for people in the crypto sector over the next few years?
Before you get the answer, Bitcoin and crypto have never been anonymous. I have no idea where this idea comes from. People think Bitcoin was anonymous. Now it's not anonymous anymore.
Cryptos are nothing more than a Trojan horse to introduce CBDCs. So now they're focusing on cryptos, giving them all these characteristics. Cryptos will end up being regulated by the state just the same. And then the transition to CBDCs can be organized in this way.
Except that Bitcoin is decentralized, CBDC is centralized, Bitcoin is censorship resistant, CBDC is not censorship resistant, Bitcoin is open source, CBDC is not open source. So honestly, it's just total nonsense what's being said here again.
That was clear from the very beginning. It's not much different with Bitcoin. We're already on the verge of its introduction anyway. So the first quantum computers are already in development and are actually already working in the background. But the public isn't being told about it. But once that happens, all anonymity in the financial system will be over.
So much nonsense is being mixed together here again. It's always hilarious, too. By now, I almost celebrate this as comedy. For me, Ernst Rolf is like the comedian of the Bitcoin scene. So here, quantum computers are being mixed up with anonymity, as if quantum computers are now so dangerous for the Bitcoin network that anonymity is at risk. That's kind of how I understood it. So the quantum computer, even if it were to become a threat to the Bitcoin network, You can update the Bitcoin network. You can implement a quantum-resistant algorithm or whatever here. It's not like Bitcoin is hopelessly at the mercy of all this. Besides, we're still a few years away from that anyway. I'm not a quantum specialist myself. Some say 10 years, some say 20 years, but it's definitely not going to be in 2 or 3 years that the quantum computer suddenly becomes dangerous. And especially the combination of quantum computing and anonymity, I've never even heard of that before. So that's new to me. But well, that's just another tall tale from the Polaner beer garden.
So it's a big illusion for people to believe that you can still truly move anonymously anywhere in the digital sphere in this world. The digital sphere is like an X-ray machine that scans us all and records everything about us.
And yes, I definitely agree with that here. Bitcoin isn't anonymous, but he's never claimed that Bitcoin was anonymous anyway. I mean, Bitcoin's also open source, so from the very beginning, you can see that Bitcoin's not anonymous. It's a transparent system, which also has a lot of advantages. That's exactly what's cool about Bitcoin, the transparency. If we want anonymity, then we have to create it on second layers. We have to use tools for that. And of course, we can use many such things. But I do understand the point, of course. Gold definitely offers better anonymity. You have to be clear about that. A gold transaction from one gold owner to another, that's how it goes. That's the ultimate off-chain transaction. That's what Miko J always says. He says that. That's definitely true, but we just have to weigh the pros and cons here. Gold has its own disadvantages too. The thing is, there's nothing that's really the ultimate super solution. We have different tools in the world, and each tool has its own pros and cons. Gold has certain advantages and disadvantages. Bitcoin has certain advantages and disadvantages. Cash, for example, also has its own pros and cons. And then there are other things too, which also have their own pros and cons. Pi and whatever else. You just have to combine this toolkit together. For example, if you want an absolutely anonymous payment, then you use cash, if that's what you want. If you want to store a value that works in a decentralized way and is transparent, that's actually an advantage too. Because thanks to transparency, we can always verify how much Bitcoin exists in total, whereas with gold, we don't know how much gold there is in total or how much there will ever be. So if we want to store a value, then we go with Bitcoin. If, for example, you want something physical for an emergency scenario, let's say, I don't know, 3 days of darkness, all computers go crazy, whatever, then sure, you can go with a gold bar in case, for example, electricity is out for 3 days or something like that. So you just have to weigh things up, but making absolute statements like, oh, quantum computers are coming and anonymity and blah, 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 doesn't make sense. Stuff like that is always nonsense, of course. But hey, guys, let me know in the comments how you see all this if you still want to buy Bitcoin. I'll drop the link to 21 Bitcoin for you. Enter the code BitcoinHotel. You can still save up to 20% on fees when buying Bitcoin. I'm going to jump in the water for another swim now. I'm signing off here from Asante. Peace out.